All right, can we have the legal definition of each charge as included in the indictment? That's what happened in my last trial. They asked for that, and then they asked for them again, and then I broke down and gave them in writing. Of the things that I have in writing, that's probably the thing I'm most comfortable with, but I will, y'all can tell me how you want to do it, whether we want to read it to them and give it to them in writing, or just read it to them and wait for them to ask the second time before I give it to them in writing. What I discovered, I think it was 3 trials ago, was then they had someone trying to speed write while I was reading and writing it off the thing.
If you want to break out your charge and be like, you know, here's malice murder charge, here's assault charge, that's fine. Just send it to them.
In writing.
Just give them the charge, yeah.
Yes, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Do y'all want me to bring them in to do that, or you just want me to print it out and give it to y'all and let y'all look at it and give it to them?
I think print it out.
It's the same version you've got.
All right.
Just give it to them.
Let's see, actually, I gave y'all a printed one. Do I have a printed one?
I've got your version.
I think one of y'all gave me a printed one.
I have your version before your final version. You did a change.
Let me see what we got.
But I don't think you changed that. You removed, I think simple assault's what you removed.
From there, and then I can see it better. I think, like I said, my last trial, they wanted to walk through each instruction with the indictment as they were going through. Let me try to. I'll get rid of the.
So, everyone, welcome. First time we've spoken in person today, but so I think Simon Bagel was right. I think that we're looking at a possible split verdict here. I think that's where they're going now. Understand this: it could also be because, as I was explaining yesterday, the first three counts, which is felony unaliving or malice unaliving, we'll call it, are it is a situation where they could find her guilty of one and not guilty of the other because of the definitions. So it could also be that they've determined she did it, but they're trying to figure out which one to find her guilty of. But I think this doesn't indicate a good thing for her as far as being found not guilty of everything. So I think this indicates we're going down the road of a split verdict. Now, the question is this a situation where they're trying to see does felony unaliving or does malice unaliving incorporate her having assisted Scott in some way? And I think what they're going to find is no, because it requires her direct use of the firearm, and that's what they're going to find. And this is where I think they end up at 3 and 4. Let's see what's going on back in the courtroom. And sound has been turned off, unless I'm missing it, but I don't believe I am. I'm just double checking. I don't want to have a whole issue like the other day, where I'm talking away and the judge is talking too.
Died, and I have to go. I mean, if I'm available, I want to go to the funeral home, or it's actually at the church. But so I think that's at 1. So I may see if they want to work a little later, and then that way, if there's anything that I needed for it, I'll be back closer. But I can still be here in 30 minutes, regardless, because it's only across town. They have to go to the funeral home at 4 for another thing.
I think it's at 2.
Brody's thing is at 2? Okay. Well, then that may not matter.
It says 2 to 3 is a visitation.
Okay. And then the funeral's at 3.
Celebration of life is at 3.
Yeah. And then there's a thing after that. And then at 4 o'clock, I have a thing for. All right. We'll be at ease until. I'll still check on them and see if they want to. Well, I guess if my thing's at 2, I'd rather them go ahead and break at 12. And then if they have a question or something, they come back. But I'll send. I'll deal with whatever.
We'll all be around, so just text us.
Yeah. After 2 o'clock, it may be closer to 30 minutes before I am back and available to do something if I go across town. All right, we'll be in recess till then.
All right, guys. So let's talk about that. What's going on with the jury? Like I just told you a few minutes ago, I believe that this jury is close to a verdict. I think that this is a sign that they're trying to figure out what to find her guilty of, unfortunately. Hold on one moment. My wife is calling me. Give me one moment. All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. So it looks like I see the judge's head again down there. So we'll see what's going on with that. I assume that's probably because they're finalizing. I don't think we're going to probably hear anything more unless the jury has an additional question. And then maybe that'll give us some insight. Because, like I said, it could be that they're debating between malice or felony. And then, it could also be that they're looking to find out if they think she was in this with Scott And would her role be defined then under felony or malice, which it would not, because both of those would require her to have actually committed the actual crime, unless they believe they conspired together. Then they might be able to get to one of those if there is a conspiracy for her to have harmed him, and then Scott does this, and then they feel like felony would be the pathway to that. Thank you, Under Your Scars. Really appreciate that. She's Under Your Scars says, thank you for the coverage and explanations. Hope the babies are all good. When's Ty on next? Well, there could be some information coming out on Ty very soon. So hold on that. Just there's some things that could be coming down the pike. But we're just waiting to hear on some things that may be happening. So we might have a lot happening right now, especially this coming weekend. Yeah, so that's what I think. I think it's possible that those could all be the multitude of things going on there. Absolutely, Under Scars. I definitely we definitely are hoping that there's going to be some big news coming very soon on that front. Lots going on down there in that case, but I don't know. We're going to see. It's going to be very interesting because there's a lot of different things the jury could be doing. But the fact that they wanted to hear all of the explanations means, I believe this means they have found her or determined her to be guilty of something. And I think they are understanding that they're not going to just go across the board here. And that right now what you're seeing is you have a divided jury. And I think what they're going to start doing now, and again, I was on a jury where it was a divided jury. When it started out, it was 10-2 for guilty of the highest offense. And then we ended up with guilty, but it was a lesser offense, and we didn't know what the penalty would be, although I had an idea. But it was not shared in the jury room because that really has no bearing. But the individual walked out of jail that day because of what the verdict was. So for the defendant in that case, it was as if it was not guilty. But there was a going down and trying to understand the charges and matching it up when we realized we were all going to be a distance away. And then it was, okay, where would we be comfortable going? Because we all agree we're not comfortable with a not guilty, right? And that's probably where they're at here. It's where I'm at. It's where I would be at if I was on this jury. I think it's a hard pill to swallow that they would say, let this lady just walk out and be scot-free on this. Notice the play on words there. So I believe that this is where I always believed it was going to go. And now, again, I don't know what the discussions are, but I really hope that somebody back there is paying attention to Pope's testimony. And I would love to have seen if they could have had that read back, because I think it just kind of flew over everybody's head, although the defense attorney made it a point in the closing. But to me, one of those bags of fertilizer should have been that the fire was started, an hour when Melody couldn't have been at the house. I mean, that's huge, because that just takes out Rusty's whole thing. That destroys the entire state's case. That's got to weigh heavy on that jury back there, which is why I believe they will settle on we don't know, but we think she covered something up at a minimum, and that would have been part of covering up the body, would have been assisting Scott in covering up the body, getting the body burned, engaging in the cover-up she did for the 3 days or the 2 days after this until they found the body in the burn pile. I believe it can, actually. Let me see here. But I don't think they opted for a death penalty jury here. It can, but I don't believe this is a death jury, because let's see here. So yeah, it is up to death, imprisonment for life without parole, or imprisonment for life with parole after a certain period of time. From what I'm looking at. However, I don't believe this jury. So malice unaliving is punished by death, imprisonment for life without parole, or imprisonment for life. So life would mean that I believe in Georgia it's 30 years that she has to serve. So for her, that's a life sentence regardless. But I believe in this case that this jury that the state took the death penalty off the table. Okay. And the reason why I believe that is because, and I could be wrong on that, but I thought I read that they opted not to make this a death case. Now there's benefits to a death case because when you have a death case, it's more favorable to the prosecution because you have to anybody that is unwilling to do the death penalty,